All right, so now that we went over the vocabulary, we're going to move into our groups. Remember how we're going to do the science experiment? If you don't remember your groups, it's here on the board. Have my whiz kids, Phoenix, Ibrahim, Carliani, and Michael. You'll be on that side of the classroom. Brainiacs, my Brainiacs, Mahaiman, Safal, Rashan, and Labria. You'll be on this side of the classroom. Superstars, my superstars, Janaya, Khaleesi, Genesis, and Ryder. You'll be over here, on this side of the classroom. And my clever kids, Isaac, Samara, Osariman, and Sadia. You'll be closest to me, over here. So, remember, when we're in groups, I'm just going to go over the expectations we have in groups, especially when we're doing science experiments. So now that we know our group members, I'll let you guys move to your seats before I go over the instructions. Come on, hurry up, come on. You don't gotta take your notebooks. Only one person can take their notebook, decide who's that. All right, so now that we're all in our groups, let's go over group roles. So, little scientists, when doing experiments, the most important thing that we have to make sure we are always keeping in mind is to be safe. We always have to be safe. We are safe by being responsible, right? By being careful, taking things slow, not rushing, getting too excited, and being aware of our surroundings, aware of other people, aware of where our hands are and our feet are, right? Make sure we don't trip and fall and break things and hurt ourselves, right? So, remember, we always have to keep those in mind. An easy way to do this is to have each group member play a role. Can anybody tell me what a role is? Isaac. You're saying a role is when somebody has to do something? Close, yeah. That's their role. They have a specific task they need to do, right? So if my role is a teacher, I have to teach. Your role as a student, you have to take notes. You have to listen to me, right? So there's 4 roles, and there's 4 of you in the group. So everybody's going to have something to do at all times in the experiment. Nobody's left out, and you all have to be making sure you guys are doing your roles, right? If I walk around and I see people not doing the roles, I might pull you out of the group. No more experiments. Because you got to be doing what you're doing. If everybody else is contributing, you have to contribute too. That's not fair. So, let's go over these roles. The facilitator. The facilitator makes sure that everyone is doing their part and makes sure all group members are contributing to the experiment. So, what does that mean? Who wants to tell me? Khaleesi? Yes, it's like a leader, right? You're like a leader. You are the one who's making sure that everybody is doing their part, right? So if Janaya is the timekeeper, you got to make sure that she's recording the time. She's updating you guys on the time. What time is it, right? How much more time you have left, so you know when you have to finish up, right? If Isaac is the materials manager, you have to make sure that he's the one that's cleaning up the stuff and sharing out all the materials, right? He's the one who has to pack up the stuff, make sure all the materials are where they need to be at all times. That's his role, right? And so on and so forth. People have different roles. The facilitator has to make sure that people are doing those things, okay? Everybody will be able to contribute, don't worry. Just because you have one role doesn't mean you're not doing the experiment. Everybody's going to have a chance to do the experiment. Just put that out there. So nobody's going to be left out. Everybody's going to be able to do it, pour the water, take the ice cubes, pour the warm water. It'll be fun, right? The next role, materials manager, picks up, shares out, collects, and gives the teacher the materials. So you're not only taking the materials from my desk to give to your group, you're making sure that each group member has enough materials, you're making sure that all the materials are shared out, and then at the end, you're collecting the materials that need to be collected, and you're giving them back to me. You're making sure they're giving back to me. Okay, that's your role. Timekeeper. The person who keeps track of time and reminds the group how much time is left. This is important. You guys don't want to fall back behind, right? So the timekeeper is there to make sure you guys are on task and you're following along with the experiment. So you guys get to do all the parts. I don't want to have, it becomes, lunchtime and we don't have enough time to finish the experiment. That's not fun, because then y'all don't get to see what the end is like. And I want you guys to see it. So, timekeeper is very important. Recorder. The recorder now writes down what they are seeing happening in the experiment, right? And they're answering questions. How does it work? What are some questions that you have? Why do you think this is happening to the liquids or solids or gas or ice or water, right? Just write down things you see, some questions you have, right? I'll give you guys a sheet of paper with some prompt questions that you can answer if you want. And just because the recorder is writing doesn't mean that anybody can't pitch in what they think. So say Janai is the recorder, right? And she's writing down all these things that she sees, and then Kalicia adds, oh, I see this as well. Janai can write that down. Genesis adds, oh yeah, I see this as well. Or look at what this is happening. Look what the ice is doing over here. You can write that. It's not just one person writing down all what they see. It's everybody's thoughts. And then she's writing, that person is writing down everybody's thoughts and what they see. So everybody contributes in that part, right? So, any questions on these? Any questions? Everybody's good? I'm seeing a lot of thumbs ups. You sure? All right. So, now I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to assign your group roles. Who do you think is going to be the best? Facilitator, materials manager, timekeeper, and recorder. If you guys take too long, I will assign the roles. So you guys got to be quick with this and know, oh, I want this role and this role. Everybody's going to be able to do the experiment. Do not worry. Okay, you won't be missing out just because you're the timekeeper and you're not handling any materials. You'll be able to do that too. Okay, so pick your roles. I'll give you guys 2 minutes. 2 minutes past. All right. So now that you guys have your group roles, right, we're gonna go over the directions of the experiment. So if you'll see on your desk, you have a bottle of water, of super cooled water. See, now we're gonna do a cool experiment. I'll explain that a little later. Super cooled water, right? There's one bottle of water at each of your tables in the center, right? There's a glass jar. We're going to be pouring the water in this glass jar. And let me tell you something. If I see this glass jar move anywhere from the middle of the table, in the center of all of the students, that's it. I'm stopping the experiment for your group. You're done. All of you. Because this glass jar should not move. It should stay right in the center of the table. I don't want to see it at the edge. I don't want to see it at the edge of the center. I want to see it in the center of the table. Nobody should be touching the glass jar. The only thing you should be doing with the glass jar is leaving it there and pouring water into it. That is it. And putting the ice cube into it. I'll get to that in a second. Do not touch the glass jar. Okay? So, lastly, you have your bundle of ice cubes. So, we're going to be using this to instantly freeze the super cooled water. So, remember how we talked about how freezing is the slowing down of molecules and then it stops completely and it makes a solid, right? So this super cooled water is already really cold, really cold. If you feel the bottle, you'll feel that your hands will probably start to hurt because it's cold. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pour the super cooled water into the glass, right? Don't do it yet. Don't do it yet. Hold your horses. Then we're gonna put the ice gently into the glass jar. And after that, we'll wait a while, maybe about 10 minutes, and you'll see the ice start to freeze. And that's when you guys would start writing down your notes, right? So, let's just go over the directions one more time in a little more detail. Step 1. Pick up the super cooled water bottle of water and pour it into the glass jar, right? Step 2. Put the bundle of ice cubes into the jar slowly. Do not drop it. These directions will be here on the board if you ever need to go back to them. Do not drop the ice, because if you drop the ice, the water is going to spill or the glass could break. And I don't want that. Slowly put the ice in the water. Right? Lower your hand slowly until the ice is fully under the water, and then you can let go. If you need help with this, I'll come around to help you. Step 3. Wait 10 to 15 minutes. That's about the time it'll take for the ice to freeze, right? The water to freeze into ice. And then while that's happening, the recorder and all of you group members are talking about what you see, right? Writing down what you see is happening to the water. What are some questions you have? You can answer some questions on the sheet of paper that I'll give you, right? Why do you think this is happening? If you thought that water takes maybe hours to freeze, why is it taking 10 minutes to freeze? Things like that. Step 4. After watching your water freeze, you're gonna call me over, right? And I'm gonna check, make sure your water is frozen. It's good. Doesn't have to be fully frozen to move on to the next step, but I'll just make sure there to kind of give you guys the go ahead. Then, when you do call me over, I'm gonna come around with the warm water. Right? I have warm water in this little mug kettle here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask you guys, okay, is your water frozen? You guys might say yes or no, right? If you guys say yes and I see that it's frozen, I'm gonna start pouring the warm water on your ice. I'm just gonna pour a little bit, right? Or actually, you know what? I'll get the plastic cups out and I'll pour them into a plastic cup. And because it's warm water, you guys can pour the water on the ice over time. And with that, you guys will be able to see it. What happens when ice is warmed up? It melts, right? It melts. You guys will be able to see it melt. You'll be able to describe it. What are some questions you have? Start recording stuff. All right, I get it. See you tomorrow. Adding on. All right. So after you record the melting process, right, and everybody's finished, I'll give you guys a check-in. I'll also remind you guys of how much time we have left. I'll set up a timer. We'll have about like 30 minutes, 25 minutes, right? And once it gets time to the end, I'm going to tell you guys, hey, it's almost time to share. Let's see what you guys found, right? And that's when the recorder would turn into the reporter. And so you would have to read your notes collectively. What did you guys talk about? What did you guys see? What questions do you still have? And you would just share that with the whole class and the other groups. Not a big deal, right? So you guys are all contributing into that one summary. Then finally, after we're all done sharing and we're all done with the experiment, we're going to clean up. So that means materials manager is putting stuff away, the recorder is putting the books away, the facilitator is making sure, maybe helping out those 2 people, timekeeper can bring back the timers, right? So now that we know all of that is good, let's start with the experiment. Remember, step 1 is pick up the super cool water bottle and start pouring into the glass. Awesome.